Welcome everyone, Christine here on Serious Gaming with a discussion on World of Warcraft, the Burning Crusade Classic, and some rumors that have come out a couple of days ago. Not confirmed rumors, so take all of this with a grain of salt, but we do have some information according to a source apparently in Blizzard, or someone who knows the source. From NanoNost on Twitter, haven't confirmed it yet, but the hottest rumors for Classic WoW Next Rammus release is planned for early December with a Burning Crusade beta rolling out in March, April of 2021. Sooner than expected, but we'll see. Now, who is this guy, you might ask? Well, he was on the Nostalrius core team. He worked on Nostalrius private server. They had some connections with Blizzard, especially early on when Nostalrius was shut down. There was a huge backlash because of that decision, which ultimately prompted Blizzard to develop Classic. So he says he knows someone in Blizzard, and according to that source that he has, this is the timeline that he has been given. He's also talked about certain other things as well. He hasn't heard anything about, say, Draenei or Blood Elves being released. At one point they would be released. He personally would expect them to be released with a pre-patch, but he hasn't heard anything from his source inside Blizzard. He has, however, heard something about servers, which personally gave me a headache, given the server I currently play on in Classic, or the server I've played on for Classic. And what he's heard is that the current servers would be transferred over to the Burning Crusade. So characters, economies, populations, all that would be transferred over to the Burning Crusade, but they'd give you an option to copy a character to a permanent vanilla server. What's the problem in that? Well, my head just hurts thinking about Gehennas with the server I played on, just transferring over to the Burning Crusade. That would be insanity. The population is insanely huge. Forget farming anything in the open world. That's not going to happen. And I imagine that for other servers, it may not be quite as bad, but it would be pretty bad. Now, some people do enjoy playing on a server that's that huge. Personally, I think there comes a point with World of Warcraft that servers become too big. And of course, nothing about layering or anything like that. We have to wait and see how that's going to be developed. As for the timeline that he posted, I think that when it comes to Next Rammus, if we're talking about the pre-patch of Next Rammus being released in early December, then that makes sense. That would actually fall in line with the personal expectations I had. But as for Next Rammus itself as a raid, given the fact that the pre-patch would probably take, 1-2 weeks or so, maybe even longer, the Scourge invasions that is, I don't think that would work out very well. There's a lot of people that want gear from AQ. There's top guilds that are still competing for speedruns. And keep in mind, we are in September. It's been a month, and in the cases of many servers, even less than that. Some servers are even still now struggling to open AQ because they just don't have the population. So would Blizzard release Next Rammus in early December? Given that they could, absolutely, but I don't think it's likely. Though they obviously wouldn't release Next Rammus during the middle of the holidays. They could release the pre-patch in early December, then have Next Rammus come out in the first or second week of January. That would be my personal expectation in regards to that. And then as for the Burning Crusade beta, they could certainly have that in March or April, and then potentially have the pre-patch in May, June, July, dependent on what they want to do. Now, this is where we get into some speculation. When would Blizzard release the Burning Crusade based on that? Well, it would depend on the length of the beta. It would depend on when they would release the Burning Crusade pre-patch, what kind of form that would take. And this is where we get into discussions on, what can happen. What kind of decisions will Blizzard make? And here's the thing. Any leaks, any kind of information that's getting posted right now for the Burning Crusade is, any kind of decisions are probably not final when it comes to this. Blizzard still has time to make a decision. We're not likely going to get an announcement for Burning Crusade until early next year anyway. And so these plans are likely not final. So it's really speculation and wishful thinking in some cases as for what people want to get. Now, some people would want the Burning Crusade to come out as quickly as possible. They're done with Classic if they even played it in the first place, and they're only interested in getting the Burning Crusade as quickly as possible. However, there are still hundreds of thousands of active World of Warcraft subscribers in Classic. We know from Blizzard's own statements that Classic doubled the subscriber base of World of Warcraft. That's what they have stated themselves. It doubled the active subscriber base. So Blizzard has a lot of people that are playing Classic, are happy with it, but there are probably quite a few people that wouldn't be happy with the time that they have to get a queue, Naxxramas gear being cut short just to get the Burning Crusade out as quickly as possible. And then there's another factor, and that is summer. If you were to tell me that Blizzard wanted to release the Burning Crusade in, say, May, I think that would be reasonable. Any later than that, like June or July, that would be insanity as far as I'm concerned. I don't think they would have a beta period of just 1 or 2 months. So I think a May release date, especially given this rumor, is probably out of reach. Why not June, July? What's the problem with that? Well, let me put it like this. The Burning Crusade of any expansion in the history of the game, of any period really in the history of the game, this includes Classic itself, has the most upfront content to do of any period in WoW's history. What do I mean by that? Well, in order to deal with the content, and this is assuming that it's following a Blizz-like approach, what did we have with the release of the Burning Crusade on retail? What did we get there? Well, we had Karazhan, a 10-man raid, Gruul and McFerrin, 2 25-man raids for Tier 4. So that's Tier 4, Karazhan, Gruul, and McFerrin. Then we had for Tier 5, the proper 25-man content, the actual large-scale raids, Serpent Shrine Caverns, and Tempest Keep. Now, those raids on retail, people should know this, they were extremely buggy, badly balanced, badly designed initially, and it took Blizzard months, yes, months, even with the release of Black Temple, it took them until the release of Black Temple until they fixed them. Now, people talk about, oh, Burning Crusade was a very, very difficult expansion. It was, but one has to understand that the top guilds, the ones coming in from that had cleared Naxxramas, they would have smashed the content if it hadn't been so completely buggy and broken. Vash was broken, Morgrim Tidewalker was broken. Every single boss encounter, let alone the trash for those bosses, was broken. The respawn timers were broken, the difficulty was insane, and even top guilds that were raiding quite a lot just couldn't manage it. Because of that, there were only 2 guilds in the world that killed Vash and no guild that killed Kael'thas. And I think there were only, 1 guild or maybe 3, I don't remember the exact number, but very few guilds that killed Alar before the release of the Black Temple. But largely due to imbalances, bad boss design, bugs and glitches, a lot of bugs and glitches, a lot of mechanics on bosses not working. So you have the raiding situation there. Then you have the dungeons. You have the largest number of 5-man dungeons in the history of the entire game being released at once. And you have to do pretty much all of them on Heroic as well, or many of them on Heroic. You have to grind reputations to do all of that raid content. You have to get reputations to Revered with pretty much every single faction, with the exception of Keepers of Time, to be able to enter Tempest Keep, to enter Serpent Shrine Caverns, to do the raid bosses. So there's a lot of things that people need to do with the Burning Crusade. That's not even counting professions, the profession grinding, the farming for badges of justice, the farming for crafted gear, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of things to do. If Blizzard releases Burning Crusade in the middle of fucking July, which is what some people want, some people have suggested, it would be an absolute nightmare for every single guild in World of Warcraft. It would be the worst decision they could make. Blizzard has tended to avoid releasing an expansion during that time period. People go on vacations. People have gone on vacations. Raid activity plummeted during this pandemic. It plummeted during the summer, as it always has, as it always will. People take time off. They spend time with their families, with their friends, with their loved ones. They spend time off, so they go away. You can't count on people. And some people would suggest the idea of launching the expansion with the most amount of content that can take weeks, months to do normally during that period, that is absolute insanity as far as I'm concerned. Do I think Blizzard could do that? Yes. I don't think it would be wise. I think it would be absolute hell. I think they would screw over a lot of guilds. They would make the life of every guild leader, every raid leader, every officer a living hell if they did, but they could do it. Is there any reason why they'd want to do it? Like, let's assume that it's not going to come out in May. It's unlikely to come out in June. So you're looking at earliest, really, maybe late June, July, something like that. Why would they want to do that? What's their reasoning? Well, here's the problem, especially because of the rumor that Blizzard that Blizzard is going to keep the same servers that we have right now. Here's one reason why they might do it in the middle of summer, why they'd go for something as insane as that. If they keep the current servers as they are right now, they can throw as many layers as they want. It's going to be an absolute impossibility to do anything in the open world unless a significant portion of the player base is away. It's still going to be an issue if they keep the current servers, some of which are completely broken population-wise, but who knows, maybe that's what the community wants. I know some people are very devoted to their servers. They could do that, release it in the middle of summer, maybe not have the raid content out at launch. I personally would not be fond of that idea, but they could release it in the middle of summer. Maybe the raid content isn't available, maybe it is available. More on that later. But the important thing is they would have far fewer players, they would have less crowding, they would have less insanity, especially in Hellfire Peninsula. But it's kind of like a band-aid. It's not the solution. To solve the problem of Hellfire Peninsula in particular, because that's really where the issue is, that's where the biggest issues are, partly because of the quest design, partly because of the large number of people who are going to go through it. Everyone has to do Hellfire Peninsula. You can't skip it. If you could, people would, but you really can't skip it. You really can't skip going into Hellfire Peninsula. So maybe releasing it in the middle of summer would make sense from that perspective. I don't think it would solve the issue. Sure, you'd have fewer players, but you'd still have absolute hell on earth. I don't know. There are severe issues with Classic that Blizzard needs to fix or try and fix. Do they care? I don't know. Personally, my expectation, if they want to be reasonable, would be late August, early September next year. That's what I'd expect. That's what I think is sensical. That's what I think would work the best. But whether or not they want to do that, well, it depends on a number of factors, including what other titles they might have being released, or if they have major raid content being released for retail. That's also a discussion to be had. Now, finally, just want to dive into this particular subject because it does matter. How do I feel? How do I feel they should release the raiding content? Well, I think they should have Tier 4 and Tier 5 at the same time. Some people would talk, Hydra was in the game. Technically, sure, I guess, maybe Hydra was in the game, but no one got into Hydra. No guild came into Hydra. No guild came even close to going to Hydra. Nihilum and Method killed Vosh once each. No guild came even close to killing Kael'thas, largely because of the bugs. And you're talking, if it's Blizz-like, Hydra should be in the game. No. If it's Blizz-like, you have Tier 4 and you have Tier 5. That's what you should have. And I think it would be a very interesting competition, especially among the top guilds, to be able to clear that content very quickly. I think it would be the only actual raid progression that would matter as far as I'm concerned. Quasine here on Serious Gaming signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.